It's no longer a question. The Cincinnati Reds are the Milwaukee Brewers' little brother, and Monday night was just the latest example as to why.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, welcome in. I'm Stephen Offenbaker. He's Jeff Carr. Today's episode is brought to you by Odoo. Great organizations win because operations matter, and that's why you should get Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's odoo.com/lockedon. A little bit later in today's show, Jeff is going to try and make a case for benching Spencer Steer, which is absolutely ridiculous. If you want some fireworks, stick around for a little bit later in today's show. We're also going to talk about Brady Singer, and could he be on the trading block? And if he's not right now, how much more do you need to see from him like you saw last night in order for him to be a trade piece? We're going to talk about that here in just a few minutes. But where we are going to begin is the Cincinnati Reds once again got smacked around by their big brother, the division leading Milwaukee Brewers, and they didn't even have to get Yelich to do it. They managed to hold Christian Yelich to an 0 for 4 and still lose this game, Jeff. And you and I spent a lot of time talking about this in show prep because it's not that we dislike the Milwaukee Brewers. It's not that we think they're a bad organization. I think at the end of the day, I don't like how it makes me feel when the Reds play them because the Reds are never going to be them. And I think that's really just the sad, simple truth.
No, the Milwaukee Brewers are the big brother that is stiff-arming the little brother, and the little brother is trying and working really hard and trying to get to his big brother and never does. In fact, in the last 3 seasons now, well, 3+ seasons now, since 2023, I kind of went back to this point because it's like, okay, 2023 was really the beginning of this era. You had Matt McClain and Elly Cruz come up that year and all that other stuff. So let's mark 2023 as the beginning point. Since that point, Steve, they've played 40 games against the Milwaukee Brewers. That includes last night. They're 12-28 against Milwaukee, with the Brewers holding a plus 55 run differential against the Reds. It seems as though there are these games that happen like Monday night where they're so close, but there are key details missing. And the Brewers don't miss those details, but the Reds do 10 times out of 10 when they face the Milwaukee Brewers. It's maddening. And it's the point that really drives home just the overall shame that I feel for buying into my own hope and hype for this team, where it was like, let's go, let's division title, let's fight for it. The Reds have got to prove that they can beat the Milwaukee Brewers first before they ever think about winning this division.
Buddy, they've got to prove that they can beat the Cubs and the Pirates, let alone the Brewers. I mean, This is just more of the symptoms of the overall ailment that this team has, which is they can't play anybody in this division. But Milwaukee in particular, Jeff, you're absolutely right. We look at this Milwaukee team, and they've done nothing over the last several years but continue to stay relevant, continue to stay good, trade people away at just the right time, and reload in ways that keep them competitive within this division. We've for years now said, this is the year. This is the year they fall off. And then they go out and are one of the best teams in baseball and have one of the highest win totals in baseball and win the division and are in the postseason. And it's just frustrating because I don't think the Reds have the tools in their toolkit to compete at the same level that the Milwaukee Brewers are. I don't think that the general manager or the president of baseball operations of this team have remotely the baseball acumen that the folks in Milwaukee have. And certainly the ownership group of this Cincinnati Reds team has nothing on the ownership group of the Milwaukee Brewers. I think the only thing that's comparable is the fan base. The Brewers have a fervent fan base that love their team. The Reds have a fervent fan base that love their team. And that's really where the similarities start and end.
Well, and I think, too, another reason to point to the Reds being little brother to the Milwaukee Brewers is that how do the Brewers win games? Pitching, defense, and timely hitting. How have the Reds told us they want to win games over the last couple of years?
By eliminating peaks and valleys.
Right. They don't know how to say the correct thing. Exactly. But no, that's what they want to be. They want to be what Milwaukee is. Milwaukee's so much better than that than they are. Like Monday night was a key example where they had a guy on the mound starting this game in Brandon Woodruff, who has had a fantastic career to this point, but for the last couple of seasons has dealt with a lot of injuries, has dealt with, some performance fall off, not a ton, but like less than what he used to be. And here he comes after 2 months away from major league pitching. He starts against the Reds for the first time since he was on the mound, and he got put on the IL for dead arm because he was throwing an 84-mile-an-hour fastball. And what do the Reds do? Watch every strike that goes by for the first 2 innings and then decide to get aggressive. And by that point, Woodruff is settled in because you let him settle in. I don't understand what the philosophy was with this. And I think that led more than anything to this loss because Brady Singer, who we'll talk about in a minute, was awesome, but it didn't matter because when you hold your opponent to 0 runs, then all you need is a couple of runs on your side, and he didn't get them.
They didn't even find a way to put pressure on Woodruff to think they were going to get a run. 2 hits in this entire game,
and
Jeff.
only one of them against him.
2
only one of them
hits,
against him.
One of them off the starter, one of them off a reliever. If it didn't hurt my heart so bad, it would be comical. I can't. They should have feasted on Woodruff. This should have been a game where they scored early and often, and instead they were embarrassed.
And it just feels like more of the same from what we have seen from this team against Milwaukee for the last couple of years. And I really feel like we've said this before, but I also want to reiterate it here. I really feel like what the Reds need is an organizational reset at the top, all the way through the front office. And I mean, you could argue the managerial seat. If you want to keep Terry Francona, that's fine. But like the front office needs an overhaul, and you need to go get somebody from the Milwaukee front office to do it because Milwaukee knows what's up. They know how to run a baseball team, and the Reds don't. And it constantly seems to be this way year in and year out because you see the Brewers get ready to play. Like this past offseason, they made a trade with the Red Sox where they sent their starting third baseman for a pitcher in Kyle Harrison who has struggled mightily in his major league career. And you're thinking, what are you doing? Like Caleb Durbin was a guy. He was a dude for the Brewers. And now he's not very good for Boston. And Kyle Harrison isn't like the Cy Young race. Like they take bad players and make them good. And then they're like sleeper cells where they leave Milwaukee and they forget how to play baseball again. But there's something about Milwaukee. There's something up there, whether it's the spotted cow or I don't know what it is. They are figuring things out. And for some reason, the Reds cannot replicate that.
Yeah, I can feel I'm going to get texts from Auntie Darlene about our tone and tenor today, Jeff. But it's really hard to put any kind of positive spin on what we're seeing right now from this lineup. It's difficult to do. And I think you're right. We're talking about an organizational reset. The problem is the last several key hires have come from within when you're talking about the front office. Promotion from within, moving up from within, more of the same, rinse and repeat. This team kind of tried to go outside the organization. If David Bell, the 3rd generation of the family to be involved with this team, counts as going outside of the organization, they may have tried that a little bit. But I'm with you. I really feel like they need to get a president of baseball operations that's never set foot in Cincinnati before, at least, in a baseball perspective, and do the same thing with the general manager. I'm not ready to call for Terry Francona. I think what we're seeing play out is some clashing behind the scenes between Terry Francona and the front office. I haven't been able to run that down yet but I think that it's there. I'm going to keep trying to work on that. But my gut tells me there's some clashing going on. So I'm not ready to give up on Tito, but my feelings would not be hurt is if they did a clean sweep and started over in the front office with this team.
It just feels like the team was not built correctly. And we're seeing that on a day in and day out basis. Sometimes things come together, but most of the times they don't. And when they miss on the details that they keep missing on, the Brewers exploit them every single time. And the Brewers do that thing. And I mentioned the whole like trades and all this other stuff. They make the right decisions on their personnel when they need to. It's clear that the Reds are running into a necessary moment as the trade deadline nears that they cannot pass up. And Brady Singer is a huge part of it. And after a huge night on Monday, that trade stock is rising.
If you've got a sweet tooth like I do, you know how tough it is to find the perfect treat without all of that sugar. That's why Cotton Candy 5-Hour Energy Shot brings the nostalgic flavor back in a whole new way. This is the classic cotton candy taste you remember, but with the tasty caffeine boost and zero sugar. It's quick, it's easy, and it'll satisfy that sweet craving while keeping things simple and keeping you on the move and on the go. I've always loved cotton candy. You can't be eating sweets all day. I've tried it. It eventually catches up with you. This is the perfect alternative. The flavor really does bring you that throwback fruity vanilla vibe of cotton candy, and it's surprisingly smooth. I love them. They're a little shot. I carry them around in my scrubs when I'm at work doing my thing. It keeps me going throughout the day. So you can bring on the sweetness with Cotton Candy 5-Hour Energy Shots, available online now and at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. ED is way more common than most guys think, and millions of men deal with it at some point. HIMS offers a simple, convenient way to take care of your health by connecting you with a licensed healthcare provider online and giving you access to personalized treatment options from the comfort of your home. No awkward appointments, no pharmacy lines, just a straightforward process designed to make you getting care easier. Taking care of yourself doesn't have to feel complicated, and HIMS makes the process private and easy to navigate. It's healthcare built around your schedule and your comfort. When something is already uncomfortable to talk about, it's the last thing you want to do is have a complicated process to go along with it. Having the ability to start online from home makes taking the first step feel much more manageable. To get simple online access to personalized, affordable care for ED, hair loss, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/lockedonmlb. That's hims.com/lockedonmlb for your free online visit. hims.com/lockedonmlb. Prescription required. See website for details and important safety information. Sildenafil is the generic version of Viagra. Viagra is the registered trademark of Viatris Specialty LLC. HIMS is not affiliated with or endorsed by Viatris.
Thank you for making Locked On Reds part of your day, your first listen, however many listens that you make, as we appreciate you. And we appreciate you for being an everydayer. Maybe you should think about taking it up a notch, though. We have an everydayer club that includes ad-free episodes, a group chat in the Discord with all Locked On MLB and all Locked On, really, and so much more. Link down in the description below. Make sure you go check it out today. All right, Steve, Brady Singer was probably the only guy that we did not talk glowingly about on yesterday's podcast. So that might be the reason that he did so well on Monday night's game, but he was awesome. That was arguably one of the best performances by any Reds pitcher this season, to say nothing of, personal best for 2026 for Singer.
Yeah, 7 innings, 7 strikeouts, 2 walks, only allowed 2 hits. Clearly his best start of the year. And very old Brady Singer reminiscent. This is who we've been waiting to have show up. Problem is, this team has floundered so much at this point that the tenor of this conversation is going to be, what can we get for him? And I think what we need is another start or two like that to happen for the Reds. And if it does, it will really give him some trade value heading into the trade deadline. And I think we're very close to the point, Jeff, where we'll declare these Red sellers. I don't know that I'm quite there yet. I think I'm trying to hang on to just an inkling of hope that they can get it right when Elly comes back and still be a wild card team. But I don't think we're very far away from saying it's time to trade Singer. It's time to trade Bleday. It's time to trade anybody that's not nailed down and try and get this thing right for 2027.
The Reds are definitely hanging on by a thread, and the Brewers currently hold the scissors. And right now they're like, really closing those scissors up on that thread. But I say that, I think that the discussion about being sellers is important for a couple of reasons. Like Brady Singer would be one of those guys that would be coveted by a contender, maybe not to the point that you're getting a top prospect, but you could likely get somebody that helps you for next season. Yep. And you could probably get something you need, whether that be another reliever, whether that be somebody you could put in the outfield. Like you could consider this like a rotational type player or a relief pitcher that could really help you out for the rest of this year and next year, albeit the rest of this year is likely not as a playoff contender. The other part of this, though, is that how he has turned his season around here recently has been very encouraging, because early on it looked like not that you were considering just getting rid of him for peanuts, but there was a point where you're like, man, is he helping out this team? Like, he was pitching so poorly, and now he is looking much more like the guy that we saw last season for the most part. Like, I'm not going to say that he was like an ace last year, but he was a reliable pitcher every fifth day out. He's been anything but that this year. And so for him to pitch as well as he did, you're right, he's got to do it a little bit more, I think, to convince other GMs, but he is definitely trending in the right direction.
Yeah, if we're being honest, we would have spent a lot more time talking about having him replaced in this rotation if it wasn't in the shambles, right? Hunter Green was already hurt. Nick Lodolo can't throw his breaking ball. Brandon Williamson's already injured. There weren't spare parts anymore. That 9 and 10 deep starting pitcher bench that we had went away in a hurry. And I think that protected Brady Singer's spot because there was nobody to replace him with. So that did allow him the time, I guess, to work it out. I mean, it was painful watching him work it out. But yeah, if he can give me 2 more starts like this in a row, I think it gives him some real trade value, and it gives Nick Krall a bargaining chip to try and go out and get something to put together a better team for next year.
And to think of the sellers aspect of this, I think that the traditional sense of the word doesn't quite apply. Like, we're not talking about what the Minnesota Twins did last year where they traded 11 major league players at the deadline. I'm not talking about that. But the Reds could trade a good chunk of folks who are already either on expiring deals or were signed to 1-year deals anyway. And a couple of guys like Nate Lowe who have provided value but are kind of cost effective. And so a contending team wouldn't even have to take on that much money. And so you probably could get something for those guys. I think that the Reds have to think of this as like very business-like, kind of how the Milwaukee Brewers approach things, because there's not going to be a ton of teams that are ready to consider themselves sellers at the deadline. Like, I'm thinking initially of the fact that, Tarek Skubal is available for the Tigers because it looks like the Tigers are out of it. They're not going to get back into it. And he's on the final year of his deal. They're at least not re-signing him until he hits free agency. So they definitely don't want to mess that up. So that's the best starting pitcher available. There is some back and forth as to whether the Twins will trade Joe Ryan, because I think he has 1 more year after this. And so they could get maximum value for him if they decide they want to do that. But then after that, it kind of gets a little murky as far as the starting pitchers who are or aren't available. Brady Singer could very quickly be a very attractive option here. And so that would be a key moment for Nick Krall to take advantage of we talk a little bit about market inefficiencies. This would be one of those he could take advantage of if the Reds declare themselves sellers and he starts to make some.
Yeah, I think there's 3 guys, Jeff. If we're going to call this team a seller, there's 3 guys that can get you a decent return, something back that will be useful and helpful for sure. That's Brady Singer. That's JJ Bleday. That's Nathaniel Lowe. Those 3 guys will bring you something in return that you can pretty much bank on it helping you a little bit. I think there's a 4th guy that you could probably trade that someone would take a flyer on, and maybe you could get a lower level prospect back in return that could help you in a couple years. And that guy's Tyler Stephenson. I know he hasn't delivered, but he's looked better lately. And, if he continues an uptick,
he's got that ABS superpower too.
He would be a guy that could get you a little something in return. And he's clearly not being re-signed by this team, given the nature of the deterioration of their relationship over the last 2 years. So I think that's really the only 4 guys on the major league roster right now that would be considered tradable by the organization and that could bring you something back.
I mean, you could trade like Caleb Ferguson or somebody like that. Or if Pierce Johnson comes back and stays healthy through the trade deadline, you could.
You and I are going to be pitching in September. Like, there's nobody else.
I mean, so, okay, the other part of this too, and we're going to discuss this a lot more. Like, there's definitely a lot more in-depth conversation to have about the Reds being sellers. And then what happens after that is you call up Maxwell, you call up May, you call up Phillips, you call up everybody who you think has a possibility at having a future, and you let them go. Because you're already telling everybody you're not a contender, so you might as well figure out what you got in those guys, which I think we all kind of have a bad feeling about, but at the same time,
when you listed all those names, I was seeing the Bugs Bunny meme in my head of like the guy Homer, walk. Oh my God, that's terrifying.
But no, like you've got to like. It feels like the Reds are headed to that point though, where it is more beneficial to see what you have for next year than what you have for this year. Which I hate saying that because we've said that too often.
I think you said this. I think you said this very succinctly and correctly when you said like the Reds are hanging on by a thread and Milwaukee's holding the scissors. Like if they get swept in this series, it's pretty much stick a fork in them. They're done.
Yeah, and then they still got 4 games next week in Milwaukee. They got 3 games this weekend against Pittsburgh. It's a mess right now, and I think some of it is the personnel. Some of it is strategy. And I think that there's a key player on this roster that is being miscast. Not that he needs to go to the bench. I did not say that. I said they need to put him in the best situation possible. That is Spencer Steer, and I'm going to tell you why he should be platooning coming up next. Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and somehow none of them talk to each other. That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales and accounting to inventory and marketing, everything works in one place, helping your team move faster, stay organized, and focus on growing the business instead of just managing software. The best organizations know that success isn't just about talent. It's about having everyone working toward the same goal. And that's true in sports, just like it is in business. And that's true on the baseball field right now because you're watching the Milwaukee Brewers. They know how to do it. They do it well. They've done it well for so long. And the Reds continue to trail in every possible category to them. They have their organization in alignment. The Reds don't. Because great organizations win because operations matter. And that's why you should get Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's odoo.com/lockedon.
If you can't watch us here on YouTube, you can catch us on all of the audio podcasting apps around. We are on every single one of them. If you find one we're not on and you need us to be there, go ahead and message Jeff. And while he's busy sitting Spencer Steer down, he can add us to that platform.
I did not say said Spencer Steer.
Jeff, I can't wait to hear where you are going to take this because Spencer Steer is Mr. Mashed Potatoes. He is the guy that has been undervalued, underappreciated, and at times been one of the only exciting things that this lineup has had going for it over the last couple of years. And so, of course, the first second that you get the opportunity, you want to sit him down for half the games. So do tell how sitting down a guy that has a career slugging percentage in the 400s against right-handed pitching should be on the bench.
Well, because when it comes to the mashed potatoes, 50% of the time here in 2026, actually more than 50% of the time here in 2026, they've been underdone and they've been underseasoned. Because when it comes to right-handed pitching, Steve, he slashes 220, 298, and his slugging, I forget, I think it's like in the 300s or whatever. But what his career numbers are and what this year has been is a vast difference. I will tell you this too, because when it comes to left-handed pitching, there's only one hitter that has a better isolated power than he does. That's Paul Goldschmidt. and isolated power being a statistic that is slugging percentage minus batting average. The idea is it is your batting average if only extra base hits counted. And Spencer Steer's number 2 in the league. He's number 6 in the league in OPS plus against left-handed pitching. And there was a moment tonight that I specifically circled because Nathaniel Lowe was replaced for Dane Myers. But had Spencer Steer been on the bench, they could have put him in the DH spot. Dane Myers could have played in the outfield, and he could have come up in a key spot later on in the game against Andy Ashby as well. There could have been multiple moments here to employ Spencer Steer when he is at his best. As of right now, he is mired in this ridiculous slump. And I think that the biggest problem with that is he's miscast. They need to put him in the best situation where he can come out the best production for the Reds. And Tito's got to stop with this loyalty business. That is the reason why he is continuing to roll him out.
You are basing all of this on 70 plate appearances this season against left-handed pitching. You're talking about a guy who has 200 plate appearances against right-handed pitching. And who are you giving all these at-bats to? Who is taking...
Will Benson.
Oh my God.
Why is Will Benson on the roster? Why is a left-handed player that can hit right-handed pitching sitting on the bench looking at the best sunflower seeds that they have available?
You're going to sit down 220, 293, 365. That's what you're going to sit down. And that's using just this season's numbers. That's because you said we can't use his career numbers because you're a what have you done for me lately guy. I understand. So you
what have you done for me lately, league?
You instead want to go with Will Benson. And Will Benson, let me get to his splits because I wasn't ready for you to say Will Benson. Oh. Good God. Will Benson this season. So you would be putting out there against right-handed pitching 189, 313, 337 with Spencer Steer sitting on the bench. You are crazy. What is going on? When did you turn into hot take Stephen A. Austin, whatever his middle initial is? When did you become Michael Wilburn? What is happening what is going on?
Well, that is a much better on base percentage than Spencer Steer. Spencer Steer against right-handed pitching.
It's a hot take, Jeff, but it's a steaming hot pile of take. What are you talking about?
Because Spencer Steer against right-handed pitching is a liability.
Oh my
God. Here's the other thing, because there was some discussion about who is going down for Elly De La Cruz. And I think that by the way that the Reds have been playing him, Will Benson would be that guy.
Yeah.
But what if it's 2? And Tim actually mentioned this in our group chat, and I think there might be some merit to it. Maybe Matt McClain goes down for Elly De La Cruz. And Will Benson goes down for left-handed hitter Hector Rodriguez. You could put Hector Rodriguez out there. And here's the other part of this. You have Edwin Arroyo on the bench as well. There's multiple ways that you can employ this lineup to maximize matchup probabilities. And I don't feel like the Reds do that because we like certain players. There are subjective feelings that are overcoming objective truths.
The number of times in the last 8 years, I have heard you talk about the back of a baseball card. Mm-hmm. You're looking at 70 at-bats that aren't even listed on Spencer Steer's baseball card yet because the season is not over. You are using that to relegate him to a platoon action when his back of his baseball card, when his career says that he should be out there playing, that he has a 400 slugging percentage and 54 home runs against right-handed pitching. This team doesn't have anybody better. If he was blocking somebody, if he was preventing somebody from playing that could make a difference, I would entertain this nonsense. There's nobody better. And for the same reasons that I wouldn't send Matt McClain down last year, I would not platoon Spencer Steer this year. You've got nobody better to replace him with. It just makes no sense.
And if I can bring this all together, This just points to organizational mishandling. And that's where we will end today's podcast. Thanks so much, everybody, for checking out today's Locked On Reds podcast. See what I did there? Thank you so much. Hope you subscribe. We're going to be with you every single day all throughout the rest of this season, right here talking Reds baseball. Make sure you check out Tim Daniel on the postcast at the end of every ball game every single day. And make sure you go check out Locked On MLB. Got 3 different shows talking about the league from 3 different perspectives every single day. It's on YouTube and on your favorite podcast app, just like Locked On Reds. But as for Steve, Tim, and myself, we will be Locked On Reds every single day.
If you think you're getting the last word on this, you're out of your mind. This is ridiculous. Oh, my God.